One developer recently came to me and asked, "Hey, Eddie, I've built this amazing Lightning component that lists the task I've been assigned to at Nubik, but I want to reuse it on some client's account to this other object. Also, my unit tests have been painful as creating task requires project, quotes, budget. The whole code of the Lightning component was like 59 of code, but unit tests were almost up to 1,000. Also, I had to use Code Robot to generate unit tests that are the objects that were required. It took me like 3 days to make the deploy work, and I cannot reuse it. So yes, how can I do it better? How can I make sure that I can reuse it? And that my unit tests are not so painful. So I said, well, you just need to unbound it from the object you're currently working on. I said, well, how? Here it is. So the first thing that I like to do is split my design into multiple parts, figure out which part of the component will be responsible for what. I start with the UI, which is just HTML. And then you'll have the client-side controller, and CTRL, which is the JavaScript part. And you'll have the server-side controller, server CTRL, which is Apex. And I also like to add the data controller, which is also Apex. In some really simple project, we tend to combine those. However, I do like to split them as that Apex class will manage everything related to data. So any SOQL queries, any DML operation, and that will handle all the logic required by my functionality. So yeah, I've got the data controller and then also my unit test. Because if you forget to evaluate those, you'll have some issue later on. So when I evaluate, I will start by the data controller. So what would it need to do? For this example, it needs to list task, but I want to unbind it from task. I want it to be able to list anything. So I'll do list objects. What would I need to be able to list those? I will need a type of objects. I will need a list of fields to be displayed or to be selected. And I will need some filters. Filters will be the where clause of the SOQL query, so where status is something. So, if I need those, will the server controller provide it to me? It can provide it, but it cannot figure it out. The client controller cannot. So the UI here is where I've made my attributes of the Lightning components, DR. But do I want to define here in the attributes the type of subject, the list of fields I want to display, and the filters? Because if I want to select the type of object, I will have to write the API name, and then if there's a typo in there, it won't work. There's a lot of confusion. Also for the list of fields, it will have to be a text field, comma separated, with space in betweens or not, and uppercase, lowercase. It can get messy real fast. So that's really technical, and I don't want that to be exposed to user. So what I'll do is use something called the custom metadata. Custom metadata is something that has been added to Salesforce a while back. Not as GNU as I would have expected. It's basically custom settings, however they can be deployed. So you can take the metadata and deploy it, and all the value will follow, while custom setting, only the structure will follow. And the other difference here, which is really important in that scenario, is that we can create metadata lookup field. So you can have a lookup to an object type, and you can have a lookup to a field. So what I'll do is I'll create, my component will be named lister, let's say. So I'll create a custom metadata called lister settings. It will have a name. It will have a lookup to an object type that I'll name type. It will also have a string which is going to be filters. We'll talk about filters in a few seconds. And then the goal of the component here is to make something real small. We're not using reports as we want to mess a bit with the display of the fields. So we'll display like maximum 4 fields. So let's say this component is bound to 4 fields. I'll create 4 lookup to custom fields. So I'll name them field 1, field 2, field 3, and field 4. We could have also used the text area with comma separated list of field name. This way I could have supported unlimited number of fields. However, I'll still have the technical issue where it's complex to build those. And as my component in functionality will be used only in scenarios where we don't want to list a lot of fields, we'll limit it to 4. So the filters. How do we make this work? It's basically the workflows of the SQL query. So what we'll do is we'll build something that is going to replace tokens with actual values. So for my scenario of task, the main filter I will have is assigned to, which is going to be a user ID, and status. So I know that I have status. In this SQL, I'll do status equals equals pending. So I could write that right away for one given setting. But then, if I have assigned to equal, I cannot hard code a value here. So what I'll do is define a token, user ID, with curly brackets. I can use whatever I want to do those replacements. So we know that there's going to be some dynamic values in here. And also I could have where parent or whatever is something. I want it to be as dynamic as possible. So we'll build something in the data controller that will replace those tokens with something called the context. So we'll have another method here, which is list object, and it's going to receive as a parameter a setting name, and a context. The context being a map of string, and it will contain something like user ID and the actual user ID 001 as an example. So whenever we build the filter string here, we're going to replace curly bracket, exclamation point, user ID, close curly bracket with 001. We're also going to make some validation to make sure that there's no so-called injection in here, but we're going to replace everything from the context, every key from the context with the value. So here we can have any type of filters that we want. Just go. So what will this object method do? We'll query a custom metadata setting with the setting name as a parameter. It will build the filter string using its context. It will do an SQL query on the object using the filter string, selecting those 4 fields on the type of object defined here. Well, we can also separate concerns, like what does this actually need to do is basically build the filter string, and then it will call that method with the proper filter string with value replaced and the list of fields. So this will handle loading the custom setting, and this will handle doing the actual SQL query. So now, I need that context. Most of it will happen in the UI and the client controller. So the UI will provide by default the record ID, record ID, as well as the S object type. We'll also add an attribute which is going to be the setting name. Those are not mandatory, by the way. We can have the component in an home page. It's going to work. Just need to build the UI properly. So using the setting name, we just pass that to the client-side controller. Client-side controller will fetch the current user ID. It can also happen in the server controller. So it will fetch the current user ID. It will use the record ID and S object type if it's there. It's going to build its context. And that's pretty much it. It takes the settings, the setting name, and then pass it on to the server controller, which pass it on to the data controller. And here we go. So here we'll send pending task as a setting name. It will go to the client controller. It will add the user ID to the context, onto the server controller, onto the data controller. Here we have pending task. So pending task will have the type task, will have filters where status equal pending and assigned to equal user ID. We have the user ID in the context, going to be replaced with my current user ID. All the fields are sent here. The SOQL query happened. Records are returned to the server controller, to the client controller, and to the UI, and my objects are listed. So we've got a functional component. Now on to the unit test. Remember that if we're bound to object, I needed to display task. So to have a task in my unit test, I will need to have a project, I will need to have a quote, I will need to have project manager, I will need to have everything related to schedule. But here, I can just create a lister setting with a given name, unit test, type being account, filter where name equals something, or whatever I want, or no filter. Say main industry, and then call that method an account, insert an account, call that method again, do my proper asserts, and I'm done. So I just need an account, or whichever standard subject I want, and a setting. That's all there is to it. And now my component can be used anywhere, and not only on the home page, but it's aware of where it is, and it can be fully dynamic using those settings. So hopefully I taught you a thing or two in here. Please try to use this way of separating concerns, like who does what. This way your code will be much cleaner, and hopefully you are now a better coder. Thank you very much.